The unbreakable will. The Vraxian Empire had ruled the galaxy for over 10,000 years. Their dominion stretched across 50,000 star systems, encompassing hundreds of subjugated species. Their technological advancement was so vast that most civilizations surrendered upon first contact, choosing enslavement over extinction. The Vraxians themselves had evolved beyond emotion, coldly logical beings with exoskeletons of living metal and minds connected to vast computational networks. They viewed conquest not as cruelty, but as inevitable progression. Their superiority was simply a fact of cosmic order. High Commander Zextrol stood on the command platform of the subjugation fleet's flagship, the Inevitable Conquest. The massive vessel, 20 kilometers from bow to stern, led a formation of 300 warships approaching the unremarkable yellow star on the edge of the Perseus Arm. This would be the 178th civilization, brought under Vraxian control during Zextrel's 5-century command. Analysis of the third planet confirms primitive technological development. Sub-Commander Vexmore reported, her metallic voice echoing through the bridge. They have achieved nuclear fission, rudimentary space travel within their system, and global communication networks. Standard conquest protocols are recommended. Zextrel's faceted eyes studied the holographic representation of Earth floating before him. How long have they possessed nuclear capabilities? Approximately 200 local solar cycles. And they haven't destroyed themselves. A note of mild curiosity colored the High Commander's otherwise emotionless tone. Negative. They appear to have developed restraint. Their civilization continues to advance despite numerous internal conflicts. Interesting. Perhaps they will make useful additions to the labor force. Proceed with Contact Protocol 6. Within hours, Vraxian transmissions flooded Earth's communication networks. The message was simple, delivered in all human languages simultaneously. Surrender or face extinction. It was not a threat, but merely information. The Vraxians saw no reason to disguise their intentions. The response period was set at 1 standard galactic day, approximately 30 Earth hours. The Vraxian fleet settled into positions around Earth's moon, waiting for the inevitable diplomatic envoys offering terms of surrender. It had been 17 conquests since any species had chosen resistance. 29 hours passed with no response. High Commander, the designated response window closes in 57 minutes. The humans have not initiated contact. Zextrel's metallic appendage tapped a rhythmic pattern on the command console. Curious. Prepare the demonstration force. Target their largest military installation, but avoid population centers. We require laborers. As the Vraxian ships positioned themselves for the first strike, human satellites went dark. Global communications ceased. For several moments, Earth appeared completely silent. They have disabled their own communication infrastructure, Vexmore observed. An unusual strategy. It is not strategy, Zextrel corrected. It is panic. Proceed with. The first Vraxian cruiser exploded before the High Commander could finish. Then another, and another. Report, Zextrel demanded, his composure slipping for the first time in centuries. Multiple impacts detected. Projectiles, extremely primitive kinetic weapons, accelerated to relativistic speeds. Impossible, Zextrel muttered. Their technology cannot. Second wave incoming. Across the fleet, Vraxian vessels began evasive maneuvers, but the human projectiles adjusted course, tracking the alien ships with impossible precision. What the humans lacked in technology, they compensated for with mathematics and ingenuity. They had repurposed their planet's magnetic field generators, originally designed to protect against solar flares, into mass drivers of extraordinary power. 17 vessels lost. High Commander, Vexmore reported, a tremor in her metallic voice. We are detecting launches from the planet's surface. The humans had unleashed thousands of nuclear-tipped missiles, not targeting the Vraxian ships directly, but creating a complex grid of detonations in space. The electromagnetic pulses disrupted Vraxian sensors and communication networks. In the confusion, tiny human craft, little more than engines with cockpits attached, slipped through the defensive perimeter. "They are targeting our navigation systems," another officer called out. Attempting to compensate, the human fighters moved with reckless abandon, performing maneuvers that subjected their pilots to forces that should have been fatal. They attacked with precision, focusing on sensor arrays and propulsion systems rather than attempting to destroy the vastly larger Vraxian vessels. 32% of the fleet reporting critical system failures, Vexmore announced. "Human craft are attaching themselves to our hulls. They appear to be boarding us." For the first time in his 500-year military career, High Commander Zextrol felt uncertainty. The humans fought with a ferocity that defied logical analysis. They sacrificed themselves willingly, piloting damaged craft directly into Vraxian weapon emplacements. They coordinated with a precision that should have been impossible without the neural networks that connected Vraxian commanders. "Deploy ground forces to the primary population centers," he ordered. "We will demonstrate the consequences of resistance." Dropships descended toward Earth's surface. Vraxian war machines, four-legged battle platforms bristling with disintegration cannons, prepared to march through human cities. But as they entered the atmosphere, they encountered another surprise. The skies above Earth's continents were filled with particulate matter, a calculated weather modification, creating artificial storm systems. The dropships, designed for precision landings, found themselves battling hurricane-force winds. Many crashed before reaching their targets. Those that landed found their sensors blinded by the same atmospheric conditions. "The humans predicted our approach vectors," Vexmore realized aloud. "They manipulated their weather specifically to counter our landing capabilities." On the ground, Vraxian forces expected to find scattered, disorganized resistance. Instead, they walked into prepared killing fields. The humans had evacuated their cities, leaving behind automated defense systems and booby-trapped infrastructure. Buildings collapsed on command, burying alien troops under thousands of tons of concrete and steel. Subway tunnels flooded, drowning entire squadrons. And all the while, human snipers picked off Vraxian commanders from such extreme distances that the aliens couldn't detect the origin of the shots. 6 hours into what should have been a routine conquest, the Vraxian subjugation fleet had lost 28% of its vessels and over half of its ground forces. The humans hadn't won. They couldn't, not against such overwhelming technological superiority. But they had done what no species had managed in thousands of years. They had fought the Vraxians to a standstill. In the silence of the command chamber, High Commander Zextrol made an unprecedented decision. "Recall all ground forces. Move the fleet beyond this system's gravitational influence. We will regroup and reassess." Sub-Commander Vexmore stared at her superior. "High Commander, we have never retreated from a conquest." "This is not retreat," Zextrol replied, though even he recognized the falsehood in his words. "This is strategic redeployment. The humans have demonstrated unexpected capabilities. We will return with appropriate countermeasures." As the Vraxian fleet pulled away from Earth, leaving behind their dead and a scattering of damaged vessels, communications from the planet resumed. A single message, broadcast on the Vraxians' own command frequency. "This was your only warning. There will not be a second." In the cold emptiness of his command chamber, High Commander Zextrol felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. The counter-offensive. The 6 months following first contact transformed humanity in ways no one could have predicted. Ancient conflicts were set aside as Earth's nations united against the extraterrestrial threat. Resources previously dedicated to fighting each other were redirected toward defense and technological development. The wreckage of Vraxian vessels yielded technological insights that accelerated human science by decades. Dr. Amara Chen stood in the vast underground facility beneath the Himalayan mountains, watching as engineers disassembled the captured Vraxian scout ship. As head of the United Earth Defense Initiative's Research Division, she had overseen the reverse engineering efforts that were humanity's best hope for survival. The neural interface is the key, she explained to General Ramirez, commander of Earth's newly formed Space Defense Force. The Vraxians don't use traditional controls. They connect directly to their ships. Can we adapt it for human use? Ramirez asked, watching as technicians carefully extracted crystalline components from the alien vessel. Not directly. Our brains aren't compatible with their technology. But we've developed an alternative. Chen led the general to another chamber where rows of modified fighter craft awaited deployment. These interceptors use a hybrid system. The pilot's neurological patterns are translated into commands the ship can understand, allowing for reaction times that would be impossible with manual controls. Will it be enough? Ramirez didn't try to mask the concern in his voice. Chen's expression hardened. It has to be. Our long-range observatories have detected Vraxian reinforcements approaching. This time, they won't underestimate us. High Commander Zextral had spent the equivalent of 3 Earth months in isolation, reviewing the failed conquest attempt. His neural implants had analyzed every aspect of the human defense, searching for patterns and weaknesses. What he found disturbed him deeply. The humans should not have been able to coordinate their defense so effectively. They should not have been able to adapt so quickly to Vraxian tactics. Their technology was primitive, yet they had used it in ways the Vraxians had never anticipated. It violated all known models of species development. The reinforcement fleet has arrived. High Commander, Vexmore announced as Zextral emerged from his meditation chamber. 2,000 vessels, including 6 planet breakers. The Vraxian commander's faceted eyes studied the holographic display of their assembled armada. The planet breakers, massive ships capable of triggering artificial solar flares that could scorch a world's surface, were the Empire's ultimate weapons, deployed only against the most troublesome species. We will not make the same errors, Zextral declared. The humans have demonstrated unusual aptitude for adaptation. Therefore, we will not give them time to adapt. The entire fleet will attack simultaneously from multiple vectors. The planet breakers will position themselves to threaten their sun. We will offer one final opportunity for surrender before demonstrating our capability to render their planet uninhabitable. The Vraxian armada moved with perfect coordination, its thousands of ships forming a 3-dimensional grid that encompassed Earth's orbital paths. Sensors swept the space around the planet, detecting the primitive human defenses, orbital platforms, missile installations on their moon, and a few hundred fighter craft positioned in defensive formations. Their resistance appears more organized but remains technologically inferior, Vexmore observed. They cannot have developed sufficient countermeasures in such a brief period. Do not underestimate them again, Zextral cautioned. Initiate Communication Protocol 1. Throughout Earth, the Vraxian ultimatum was broadcast. Surrender immediately, or watch as your sun was manipulated to sterilize your world. To emphasize their seriousness, one of the planet breakers fired a demonstration shot, a focused energy beam that caused a small but visible solar flare to erupt from the sun. The human response came swiftly, but not in the form expected. Instead of capitulation, thousands of small objects suddenly appeared on Vraxian sensors, launched from concealed positions throughout the solar system. Not missiles, but satellites, each broadcasting an exact duplicate of Earth's electromagnetic signature. They are attempting to confuse our targeting systems, Vexmore realized. Compensating. But as the Vraxian fleet adjusted, the human fighters made their move. They accelerated at forces that should have killed their pilots, moving with the erratic unpredictability that had characterized their defense during the first encounter. This time, however, they were faster, more coordinated. Their craft have been improved, an officer reported. They are demonstrating maneuverability that approaches our own lighter vessels. The human fighters did not attack directly. Instead, they positioned themselves in seemingly random formations throughout the battlefield, their engines running hot. What are they doing? Zextral questioned, studying the bizarre tactical display. The answer came moments later as the human fighters simultaneously engaged their modified engines at maximum output, not for propulsion, but to generate an electromagnetic pulse of unprecedented magnitude. The carefully positioned craft created an overlapping field that washed across the Vraxian fleet. Ships lost power. Communication networks failed. The perfect coordination of the Vraxian armada dissolved into chaos. Emergency power. Zextrol commanded as the inevitable conquest systems flickered. Restore fleet communications. But the humans had planned for this moment. As the Vraxian ships struggled to reboot their systems, Earth's orbital defense platforms unleashed thousands of kinetic projectiles. Unlike conventional weapons, these were guided not by complex electronics that the EMP could disable, but by mechanical systems inspired by ancient clockwork. Hundreds of Vraxian vessels were struck before their shields could reactivate, not enough to destroy them, but sufficient to damage key systems. As the aliens scrambled to recover, the second phase of the human counterattack began. From concealed bases on Mars and several asteroids, larger human warships emerged, vessels cobbled together from Vraxian technology salvaged from the first battle, and human ingenuity. They targeted the damaged alien ships with precision, focusing on propulsion and weapon systems. "They have adapted our technology," Vexmore said, her metallic voice betraying shock. "This is unprecedented." "Target those ships," Zextrol ordered. "All functional vessels. Converge on the human capital craft." The battle devolved into chaos as Vraxian discipline confronted human unpredictability. The aliens fought with the coordination of a single mind, each ship playing its role in complex battle algorithms refined over millennia. The humans fought as individuals united by purpose, adapting moment by moment, sacrificing tactical perfection for strategic surprise. For hours, the battle raged across the solar system. Vraxian technological superiority gradually reasserted itself as damaged systems were repaired and coordination restored. Despite their ingenuity, the humans couldn't match the raw power of an empire that spanned the galaxy. But they didn't need to win. They just needed to survive. As the battle reached its crescendo, with Vraxian forces pushing back the human defenders, a small team of Earth's special forces executed the true objective of the counterattack. Using the battle as cover, they boarded the inevitable conquest itself. High Commander Zextrol was coordinating the final push against Earth's defenses when the bridge doors exploded inward. Human soldiers in powered armor, crude compared to Vraxian battle suits but effective, stormed the command center. Their weapons were hybrid designs, combining human firearms with salvaged alien energy technology. "Intruders on the command deck," Vexmore shouted, drawing her disintegration pistol. Several officers fell before the humans could be contained, but eventually superior numbers prevailed. The boarding party was neutralized. Or so it seemed. "Damage report," Zextrol demanded, stepping over the bodies of human soldiers and his own fallen officers. "Minimal, High Commander." The humans were repelled before they cooled. A small device, overlooked in the chaos, activated. Not a bomb, but a communications relay. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge displayed the same image: a human woman in a military uniform. "High Commander Zextrol," General Ramirez addressed him by name. "This message is being broadcast to your entire fleet. Your command vessel has been compromised. The soldiers you just defeated were a diversion." Zextrol's faceted eyes narrowed. "Scan the ship. Find whatever they've planted." "You won't find it in time," Ramirez continued. "But don't worry. It's not a weapon. It's an invitation." Throughout the massive flagship, hidden transmitters activated, broadcasting a signal designed by Dr. Chen based on captured Vraxian technology. It bypassed the aliens' neural firewalls, feeding information directly into their collective consciousness. The truth about their empire. The conquered species who suffered under their rule. The civilizations extinguished by their inevitable progression. And most importantly, the pattern that Dr. Chen had discovered in the Vraxian genetic code. evidence that they themselves had once been engineered by an even older species, designed specifically for conquest and control. "We could have destroyed your flagship," Ramirez's message concluded. "Instead, we chose to show you what you've become. The next move is yours." On the bridge of the inevitable conquest, High Commander Zextrol staggered as the information flooded his consciousness. For the first time in thousands of years, the Vraxian Empire faced not just military resistance, but an existential truth. "Your orders, High Commander," Vexmore asked, her voice uncertain. Zextrol stared at the image of Earth displayed on the main viewer. These humans, these primitive, emotional, chaotic beings, had not only fought the unconquerable Vraxian Empire to a standstill twice, but had forced them to confront their own history. "Signal the fleet," he said finally. "Disengage and withdraw to the system boundary." "We're retreating." The word was almost foreign to Vraxian consciousness. "No," Zextrol corrected. "We're reconsidering." The Galactic Revelation. 1 year after the Vraxian withdrawal from Earth's solar system, humanity had spread throughout their local stellar neighborhood. The alien technology salvaged from the two encounters had accelerated Earth's development by centuries. Faster than light travel, once theoretical, became practical. Colonies were established on habitable worlds within 20 light-years of Sol. But along with expansion came discovery and confirmation of what Dr. Chen had revealed to the Vraxians. The galaxy was filled with civilizations suffering under the Empire's control. Some were used as labor, others as experimental subjects, and some as living factories, their bodies modified to produce resources the Vraxians required. The United Earth government faced a monumental decision: continue expanding quietly, hoping to avoid another Vraxian encounter, or take action against an empire that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. Admiral Sofia Ramirez, now commander of Earth's first interstellar fleet, stood before the United Earth Council in New Geneva. Behind her, a holographic display showed dozens of alien worlds under Vraxian control. "We have established contact with resistance movements on 17 subjugated worlds," she reported. "They've been fighting the Vraxians for generations with minimal success. Our technology, particularly our encryption methods and guerrilla tactics, has already helped them achieve minor victories." "And what do these resistance fighters want from us?" Councillor Okefer asked, his expression grave. "Leadership, hope." Ramirez gestured to the display where images of various alien species appeared. "The Vraxians have controlled the galaxy for so long that most species can't imagine freedom. We're the first to have fought them to a standstill in living memory." Dr. Chen stepped forward. "The Vraxian Empire isn't just a political entity, it's a control system. Their neural network links every Vraxian consciousness into a single coordinated mind. It's their strength, but also their weakness." "You want to attack the Vraxian homeworld," Councillor Lai stated, not a question, but a realization. "Not to destroy it," Ramirez clarified, "to liberate it. And through it, the galaxy." The plan was audacious. Using the technical specifications extracted from captured Vraxian vessels, Earth engineers had created a device that could interface with the Empire's neural network. Not to disable it, but to modify it, to restore the individual consciousness that had been engineered out of the Vraxian species millennia ago. "The ethical implications are staggering," Councillor Mbiki protested. "We would be forcibly changing their entire species. We would be undoing what was done to them." Chen countered. "The Vraxians weren't always conquerors. According to what we've learned from their genetic code, they were engineered by a species called the Precursors to serve as their enforcers. When the Precursors vanished, we don't know why, the Vraxians continued their program directive: expansion and control." After 3 days of debate, the Council reached its decision. Operation Restoration was approved, not as an act of war, but as an act of liberation, for both the conquered and the conquerors. 6 months later, a fleet of 100 Earth vessels, accompanied by ships from 23 liberated worlds, approached the Vraxian home system. They expected the heaviest resistance in the history of the campaign. What they found instead was civil war. The information planted during the Battle of Earth had spread throughout the Vraxian consciousness. Some had rejected it, clinging to their belief in inherent superiority. Others had begun to question their empire's purpose. The perfect unity of the Vraxian mind had fractured. Detecting multiple Vraxian battle groups, reported Captain Ishikawa from the sensor station of the EFS, Humanity's Hope, Ramirez's flagship. They appeared to be engaged with each other. "Open a channel," Ramirez ordered. "All frequencies." On screens throughout the fleet, the Admiral's face appeared. "This is Admiral Sofia Ramirez of the United Earth Fleet. We come not as conquerors, but as liberators. To those Vraxians who seek change, we offer alliance. To those who wish to continue the cycle of domination, we offer one chance to stand down." For long moments, there was no response. Then a familiar face appeared on the main viewer, High Commander Zextral, his metallic features showing signs of combat damage. "Admiral Ramirez, your arrival is timely. Those of us who accepted the truth you showed us have been fighting those who refused it. We are outnumbered." "Then let's fix that," Ramirez replied. What followed was not the final battle they had prepared for, but something far more complex, a coordinated operation between human forces and Vraxian rebels to secure the central neural nexus on the Vraxian homeworld. While space battles raged above, Dr. Chen led a team of specialists to the planet's surface, escorted by Earth Marines and Vraxian rebels. The neural nexus was a massive crystalline structure at the heart of the Vraxian capital, the physical manifestation of their collective consciousness. It was there that the precursors had encoded the imperatives that had guided the Empire for thousands of years. "The programming is even more sophisticated than we anticipated," Chen communicated from the surface as her team worked to interface their device with the ancient technology. "But the principles are the same. We're ready to initiate the restoration sequence." In orbit above, Ramirez's fleet fought alongside rebel Vraxian vessels against the Empire loyalists. The battle was evenly matched, with centuries of Vraxian military experience balanced against human unpredictability and the desperate courage of the rebels. "Admiral," Ishikawa called out, "we're detecting a power surge from the neural nexus." On the planet below, Dr. Chen activated the restoration device. Energy coursed through the crystalline structure, modifying the core programming that had shaped Vraxian society for millennia. The change wasn't instantaneous. It would take time for the full effects to manifest, but the immediate impact was unmistakable. Throughout the battle, Vraxian ships suddenly hesitated. The perfect coordination that had made their fleet so formidable faltered as individual consciousness began to reassert itself. Some continued fighting, driven by ingrained loyalty. Others ceased fire, unable to reconcile their actions with their emerging individuality. "All ships," Ramirez ordered, "target weapons and propulsion systems only. I want disabled vessels, not destroyed ones." The tide of battle turned decisively. Without their perfect neural coordination, the loyalist Vraxians couldn't match the combined forces of humanity and the rebels. One by one, their ships were disabled or surrendered. 3 days later, representatives from Earth, the Vraxian rebels, and 23 formerly subjugated species gathered in the ancient hall of the Vraxian High Command. The Galactic Concordat, the first interstellar peace treaty in living memory, was signed. High Commander Zextral, now first speaker of the Vraxian Transitional Government, addressed the assembly. "For 10,000 years, we have been both conquerors and captives, enslaved by programming we could not recognize. Today we begin the long process of atonement and reconstruction, not as rulers of the galaxy, but as one people among many." Admiral Ramirez spoke next. "Humanity entered the galactic stage facing extinction. We fought not just for our survival, but for our right to self-determination. That right belongs to all sentient beings. The Concordat we sign today ensures that no species will ever again be subjugated, whether by force of arms or manipulation of consciousness." In the months and years that followed, The former Vraxian Empire transformed into the Galactic Concordat, a federation of equals where technology, culture, and resources were shared rather than hoarded. The Vraxians themselves, freed from their ancient programming, discovered aspects of their nature that had been suppressed for millennia: creativity, empathy, individuality. Humanity's role in this new galactic society was not that of conquerors replacing the Vraxians, but as mediators and innovators. Human adaptability and ingenuity, the very qualities that had allowed them to resist conquest, proved equally valuable in fostering cooperation and solving problems that had persisted for centuries. On the 5th anniversary of the liberation, Admiral Ramirez, now Ambassador Ramirez, stood with first speaker Zextral on the observation deck of the space station Unity, watching ships from 100 worlds moving through the bustling trade hub. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had simply destroyed your fleet?" Ramirez asked. Zextral's faceted eyes reflected the light of distant stars. "You would have won the battle, but the war would have continued. The Vraxian Empire spanned 50,000 systems. Earth would have faced wave after wave of attacks until one succeeded. Then why did you withdraw after our second encounter? Because you showed us something no species had in 10,000 years. Not just resistance, but understanding. You fought not just our ships, but our certainty." The Vraxian turned to face her. "In all our conquests, we sought to impose order on the galaxy. We never realize that true order comes not from control, but from cooperation." Ramirez smiled. "That's a very human perspective. Perhaps that is your species' greatest contribution, teaching the rest of us to be a little more human." Together, they watched as a ship departed the station, a joint human-Vraxian expedition to explore beyond the boundaries of the former empire, seeking not conquest, but contact with whatever civilizations might exist in the vast unknown. They had ruled the stars without fear until humanity arrived, not to replace them, but to transform them. And in that transformation, both humanity and the galaxy had found something greater than conquest. They had found purpose.